Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasati.
Hare Krishna, Lapangalatika here again, reading Bhagavad-gita. We have Bhagavad-gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and we have reached verse 9. I will read the Sanskrit. Sanjaya Vacha Evam Uktva Rishikeshang Gudakesha Parantapaha Nayotsya ita govindam uktva tushning babhuvaha. Sanjaya said, having spoken thus, Arjuna, chastiser of enemies, told Krishna, Govinda, I shall not fight, and fell silent. Purport. Dhritarashtra must have been very glad to understand that Arjuna was not going to fight and was instead leaving the battlefield for the begging profession. But Sanjaya disappointed him again in relating that Arjuna was competent to kill his enemies, Parantapa. Although Arjuna was, for the time being, overwhelmed with false grief due to family affection, he surrendered unto Krishna, the Supreme Spiritual Master, as a disciple. This indicated that he would soon be free from the false lamentation resulting from family affection and would be enlightened with perfect knowledge of self-realization or Krishna consciousness, and would then surely fight. Thus Dhritarashtra's joy would be frustrated, since Arjuna would be enlightened by Krishna and would fight to the end. So we will recap a little bit here. Sanjaya is speaking suddenly. That is not Krishna and that is not Arjuna. And we brought it up earlier, but I will bring it up again. Bhagavad-gita is spoken between Krishna and Arjuna. Then the situation on the battlefield is such that Arjuna and his brothers, they are Pandu's sons, and Pandu was the king, and Pandu is now dead, and therefore they were living in the palace together with Dhritarashtra, who was the brother of Pandu. So he's their uncle, and his sons, they are cousins, and the cousins, they want to keep the kingdom, but it's actually not right, and it's a big conflict, and there has been attempts at compromising and finding something that could work for everybody, but this party here with Duryodhana, the eldest son, they are adamant that no, we are not compromising, we will take everything and we will just kick you out, and that's that. So their father, Dhritarashtra, he is not on the same level of wrong-headedness. He's not strongly attached to the ideas that his sons should have the kingdoms at the cost of the Pandava brothers, but he's very attached to his sons. He is not able to put his foot down and say this is not right. He has never had that ability due to his affection. And this is, how to say, yes, I'm going out on a tangent. I'm coming back again. So that's Dhritarashtra, and Sanjaya is his secretary, and Sanjaya has the ability to hear what is going on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, although he's not present there. So he has this mystic power. He has gotten that from his spiritual master, and therefore he's relating that conversation between Krishna and Arjuna to Dhritarashtra. And of course, from our point of view, we want to hear about Krishna and Arjuna because we admire them greatly, and we want to hear what is happening, and we want to take advantage of this philosophical understanding that we can apply in our lives, in spiritual life. Dhritarashtra has a different reason to listen. He wants to see what's going on. He's very worried. He's very anxious. He can see, this came up in the first chapter that we skipped through a little quickly, but he's asking, what are they doing on this Dharma Kshetra, Kurukshetra? On Kurukshetra, the field that is also the Dharma Kshetra. It's a field of Dharma, of religion, of righteousness. So he had an understanding that what his sons are doing is not exactly right, and in this place maybe that will be a disadvantage to them, and therefore he wants to. He hears now that Arjuna is giving up and dropping out of the situation, and therefore maybe he would be a little hopeful that now things are looking up for his sons. But Sanjaya, with his choice of words, he's not increasing that hope. He's pointing out how Arjuna, he's competent to take this fight. And yes, that's why we like to have these purports, because some of the subtler points of the words and of the culture, they might just pass us by, and here we get to, oh yeah, that's why, that's how it works. So yes, he first it indicates here that Arjuna was very competent on the battlefield, and also he surrendered to Krishna, the spiritual master, as a disciple, and this indicates that he would become free from this false lamentation. So, in general, I cannot stress this enough, in general we do not practice Krishna consciousness in order to be determined to go out and fight on a battlefield, especially in a relationship to our families and teachers and so on. But the principle is the same. When we have a firm understanding of ourselves on the spiritual platform, then those motivations that are of the material nature, they do not hamper us anymore. We will still have families, we will still have affection. I can honestly say that I do not love anybody as much as my children, and nobody else is as important in my life. But Krishna consciousness is still more important, because otherwise, how could I give the best opportunity of life to my children that I love very much if I wouldn't have this knowledge of spiritual understanding? So in this situation, Arjuna is going to go out on the battlefield and fight as a warrior. In general, that's not how we deal with things. In general, our situation is different, but in every situation we can bring with us that knowledge, that understanding, and that steady platform of peace and contentment, knowing that we are situated in a spiritual sense. So it's interesting. We have double dialogue. This is very common in our scriptures, that you have one conversation that is being retold by somebody else in another conversation. It can get a little convoluted, but it also makes things dynamic and interesting. So here we have totally different points of views and different reasons for listening to this dialogue. I think I will read another verse. Text 10. Tamuvacha Hrishikesha prahasaniva bharata senayorubayor madhye vishidantam midam vacha. O descendant of Bharata, at that time Krishna, smiling in the midst of both armies, spoke the following words to the grief-stricken Arjuna. Purport. The talk was going on between intimate friends, namely the Rishikesha and the Gudakesha. As friends, both of them were on the same level, but one of them voluntarily became a student of the other. Krishna was smiling because the friend had chosen to become a disciple. As Lord of all, he is always in the superior position as the master of everyone, and yet the Lord agrees to be a friend, a son, or a lover for a devotee who wants him in such a role. But when he was accepted as the master, he at once assumed the role and talked with the disciple like the master, with gravity, as it is required. It appears that the talk between the master and the disciple was openly exchanged in the presence of both armies, so that all were benefited. So the talks of Bhagavad-gita are not for any particular person, society, or community, but they are for all, and friends or enemies are equally entitled to hear them. Yes. This is actually a very beautiful moment. We have the situation, we have the battlefield, we have 64 million warriors standing there, if our sources are to be believed. It could be an exaggeration, but there are very many warriors on that field. And Arjuna is grief-stricken. Everybody's kind of excited and worried, and here Dhritarashtra is wondering how is it going. And Arjuna surrenders to Krishna, but he's still in that mode of grief, in that mode of hopelessness. He falls quiet, he looks down, he tells how his heart is drying up, how he cannot fathom this situation. And then Krishna turns around and smiles. And then we are established again on that platform, that spiritual, peaceful platform that cannot be shaken by anything in this material world. And we are invited onto that platform. Krishna is very much willing to accept us here. In the beginning we come as disciples. And of course, we always stay as disciples. We will always be connected in that way to our spiritual master through the disciplic succession. But at first we are neophyte, we are new, we don't know so much. We don't have the knowledge, we don't have the practice, we don't have the realization, but we have sincerity and we have some faith that this process is going to work. And then we see here, this is the talk between a disciple in the beginning of his path, and then also Arjuna. Then also Prabhupada brings us back to the next step, because we will not be beginners forever. We will actually gain spiritual understanding. It will not just be a theory of being something that is not material. There will be a realization of what that means, what is our actual situation as spiritual living entities. And here it's spoken about the relationships. Krishna and the living entities have personal, intimate relationship. God is not just a principle. God is not just in the distance on a throne somewhere accepting all the worship. God is the most loving person, and He's entirely willing to again take up that relationship with us. But we cannot just, whimsically jump into that relationship. We have to develop the realization of our inner spiritual nature and our original relationship to God. And the process then is to start as a disciple, to start with the sadhana bhakti, to practice Krishna consciousness in a regulated way. But we are still aware of this real relationship even before it is realized. So it is brought up in the same verse here. And also another thing is, Bhagavad-gita is described as a secret, because unless we have a certain mindset, a certain humility, a certain sincerity, we cannot hear it, we cannot take it in to our heart. But it is not secret like a hidden secret that is only there for some people. Here it's spoken freely on the battlefield. Friends, enemies, everyone can hear it, and it's recorded in this book, and it is available. Anyone can read Bhagavad-gita, because Krishna is like that. He is not hiding from us. He's giving us full facilities to again come back to that realization of our eternal nature, our eternal personality, and our eternal relationship with Him. So, we start from the beginning. We do that. We want to read Bhagavad-gita in a systematic way. We want to practice Krishna consciousness in a systematic way. But Prabhupada also describes spiritual life like a sugar cane. A sugar cane may have a beginning and an end, but it doesn't matter where you bite. It's sweet all through it. So is the Bhagavad-gita. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for watching. We aim for updates every Tuesday and Friday. Please come back. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down there. We also have some links and information for you. And there is, of course, the subscribe button. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
I'm a Hare Krishna, and I approve this message. Subscribe.
Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Juta Padakamalam